Hi and welcome to the latest QuickFire video interview brought to you by the information portals IoT-now.com, vanillaplus.com and the Evolving Enterprise, which you'll find at the ee.ai. My name's Jeremy Cowan. I'm co-founder of these three sites, and it's great to have you here today. There's plenty of talk about Edge and 5G at the moment, and we have a lot of detail on our site. But I thought it would be good to step back for a moment just to check some key principles. And for that, I'm delighted to say we're joined by Susan White, Head of Strategy and Portfolio Marketing at Netcracker. Sue leads strategy and portfolio marketing across the entire business. That's BSS and OSS and the orchestration portfolio. She has over 20 years experience in telecoms product management, encompassing cloud, 5G and SDN NFV with a focus on generating business growth. Susan, welcome.
Hi, thanks for inviting me, Jeremy.
It's great to have you. Susan, for anyone new to this environment, how will edge compute help to monetize 5G networks? What are the key 5G business models?
Okay, well, there's no doubt that edge compute will be one of the key enablers for 5G monetization. I mean, today we already have quite extensive networks of 5G, but most of those don't actually include the 5G standalone core yet. So we're not really at what we call full 5G. And that means the focus is a bit more on faster speeds. And as service providers know, that's actually quite hard to create new value from. So the key to monetize 5G is really to create new services and new experiences that actually need 5G. That's where edge comes in. So if we start to process the data at the edge environment, then we get two key benefits. The first one is low latency. So that's going to be critical for applications like drone control, or maybe you want to do some real-time analysis of 5G cameras at a factory. So you'll need about 10 to 100 milliseconds latency. That's got to be at the edge. And another key benefit is to actually reduce backhaul costs, because if, for example, you want to do face recognition, you don't want to be, you're going to be processing huge amounts of data, and you don't want to be backhauling all that to the public cloud. So that's the second key thing. But I think what I want to talk about a little bit is where these two come together, where edge and 5G come together in the market. And the first one we're seeing that's really quite a hot topic right now is private 5G networks. Now, enterprises across all different sort of, businesses, across all sorts of different verticals, from transport to manufacturing to healthcare, are really taking advantage of this right now, of these two technologies coming together. And it's not just a RAN environment. We're talking about an edge compute environment that can host not just the 5G core, but all these edge applications that need low latency or need really high throughput, and including security applications and things like SD-WAN. So lots of capabilities needed there. Now, one of the reasons private 5G networks are actually so popular right now is because we're still waiting for network slicing. And when this materializes in the next year or so, we can start to see those public networks move to maybe more hybrid networks and actually come to full public 5G networks with slicing. That's going to open up these really interesting edge applications to many more industries, many more companies who can't afford the private 5G solutions. And then, of course, we can see that this technology that's used in the B2B environment will be taken into the consumer environment. We already know there's a lot of companies building applications for, say, metaverse already. That needs augmented reality, that needs things like virtual reality. They need really low latency at the edge to work, and there's going to be a lot of innovation in that space. Okay. But overall, I'd say there's two key things that we really need to make happen to make sort of convert all that technology, if you like, into real money. So two key things that we're focused on in Netcracker as well. And the first is making sure that you can basically charge for any attribute in the network as you're building these networks. So it could be for how many IoT devices you've got connected. It could be for the latency. It could be for different attributes of slicing. So that's one key thing. And the second key thing will be the new business models, because you can't use the same business models. We're starting to see a lot of demand, for example, for SaaS models. That's becoming very important to our customers and their customers as well. But also, if you're working with many partners, then you need to look at different models like revenue share or outcome-based pricing or tiered pricing. And then ultimately, we want to build these much more complex models across a whole ecosystem of partners we call B2B2X models. So that whole business model environment will change drastically.
That brings me very neatly to the question that I wanted to ask, because network slicing and a bunch of new business partners is going to mean complex and many times new ecosystems. Who is best placed to manage the ecosystem partnerships of communication service providers, system integrators, obviously hyperscalers and enterprises? These are big beasts. Who takes the lead?
Yeah, that's it. It's a good question. And I think the quick answer is probably all of them. Of course, not all in the same network, but we're certainly seeing evidence that all of these are vying for positions to take a bit more the lead role. I think what's clear is none of those have got all the piece parts that you need for a successful edge business. So it's going to be a big ecosystem play. All these players somehow are going to have to work together. Now, we're seeing some enterprises already do it on their own. They're working with the hyperscalers for the cloud platform. They're working with the application vendors to bring them on board. They're working with the security vendors and the telco vendors to bring on the 5G. So it's complex, but they're putting these piece parts together. But most enterprises won't be able to do that. It's not their core business. They don't want to be involved in that. They want to outsource it. So we'll basically see the others take position, and we're certainly helping, sort of service providers do either take the lead role and go beyond, let's say, the connectivity that they're used to providing, and help them work more with partners to bring on all these additional services that will be needed, or the other way around and start to expose parts of their network in a more wholesale fashion, which will be particularly exciting when slicing comes along, and allow other providers who perhaps are more knowledgeable about that particular vertical to offer the lead service, and they sell as a service their slice or other types of services to them. So we'll see both models, and both will be really key.
There's obviously a lot of interest in automation within IoT at the moment. What's the role of edge in automation? I mean, you've hinted about it through latency, but what are the technical needs of the enterprise market?
Yeah, and I think what I'll perhaps do there is start with what some of those needs are. Because if we think about what the enterprises are demanding, especially for those who want to vie for that position to be the lead, they want services much faster than they've ever had before. They want services on demand. Very important, they want to control their services in some degree, maybe configure them, absolutely request for new capabilities. Say if they want 50 new 5G cameras and instantly provision eSIMs on those cameras. They want to be able to do this from a single click from a portal. But they also want to be able to bring in maybe third-party partners that they prefer, or even their own applications. They might have people who can actually build their applications that are customized for their business, and they want to host those on the edge as well. And of course, everything's got to be wrapped around a very solid SLA, so that performance is key. So all of those things point to automation. If you don't automate in a really high degree, you're never going to be successful at rolling out these services. It's just way too complex, and the business model wouldn't work. So basically, we see two parts: the operational part. So at the edge, we're helping service providers here, because the problem with the edge platforms that we're talking about, they're hosting, you've got compute there, or let's say you've got the cloud platform with the compute and storage. Then on top, you've got VNFs and CNFs that are doing things like the 5G core and the security and maybe some SD-WAN. Then you've got the MEC application. So that's another orchestration engine that's needed to take care of that MEC application. You can't treat these as different separate processes. You need to bring them all together and unify them so that you can do zero-touch provisioning. So that's one key thing. The second thing is, especially when it comes to Edge, it's not just about Edge, because any Edge application is tied to a bigger end-to-end service. For example, parts of the Edge might not need low latency. It might be, you can process it at the back end in the public cloud, and that's absolutely fine. So you need something with that end-to-end view that brings the whole service together and checks that the 5G RAN, has that got the right QoS to deliver my service? Has the transport interconnected all my edge devices in the right way? So all of this, again, needs to be automated, this really important end-to-end view, and as well to maintain all those SLAs. So that's critical at the operations level, but then at the business level, you also need to deal with the requirements of having this really user-friendly portal that's customized for that business, where they can browse and order services, and everything gets delivered in a timely manner with all the charging done. So you need to have a front-end system that's completely streamlined with all your back-end processes. So your partner management and your and how you do all the settlements, and how you have a common catalog for everything. All these need to be brought together and automated end-to-end. That's what we're also helping with our solutions on the digital marketplace side. So yes, there's a lot of moving parts, but to really get value and monetize those 5G networks, automation is going to play a massive role.
Well, I can't thank you enough for wrapping up such an enormous subject area in just a few minutes. My thanks to you, Susan White of Netcracker. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you very much.
And to everyone else out there, thank you for joining us today around the world. Till the next video, bye for now.
Bye-bye.